Hi, welcome to Progressive Voice, news and information for everyone by progressives. And today we're sitting with Rodney Smith, multiple times candidate for CD4 for Congress, and also Brian James, an activist and the former campaign manager for Mike Weiss's campaign.
Third congressional district.
Third congressional district?
Yeah.
I'm in four, so.
We lost.
Yeah, but you know what? Kudos, because Mike was a phenomenal candidate.
Yes, he was.
And he said a lot of things that needed to be said, and he did so with great aplomb.
It's the only reason why I volunteers.
And that really takes us nicely into what we were going to talk about next, which is volunteerism in progressive campaigns. So you volunteered, you actually took on the job as a campaign manager as a volunteer.
Well, yeah, but it started as communications coordinator and then moved from there.
It's still a lot of work.
Yeah, but how I think of it, it's like I can vote for anybody. That's easy, but given my time and my energy, I'm going to do that for somebody that I believe in. And if it's money, that's like Bernie Sanders. That's pretty much it. But, it's very important to give your time to someone you care about and you think is a good candidate and a good choice. That's why I did it.
And as I mentioned, something we were talking about off camera briefly, and we wanted to share with all of our viewers, was some thoughts on, how do we get behind those candidates that are not necessarily the appointed or anointed candidates of the parties. It's so easy to become despondent and think that the candidates you believe in don't have a chance. But if we all think that way, then they won't. And Rodney, I want to let you riff for a minute on what you were saying about volunteerism in campaigns, because I don't know of anyone that could have said it better, so please.
Well, I think in general that we have to sort of relook, especially as progressives, how we run campaigns. And this is something more for the volunteers, to be volunteers versus volunteer. And as long as you have to be paid, are you truly a volunteer? And what Brian said was important. He believed in his candidate. And because he believed in his candidate, he was willing to volunteer his time, his expertise to help that candidate. That's true volunteering, and that is grassroots. My campaign manager volunteered, and that's what she did. She believed in the message that we were trying to bring forth as a campaign, volunteered her time, volunteered her talents for the campaign. There is a tangible dollar amount, though, on that time. Because if you look at the cost of a campaign manager, you're looking at easily somewhere in the ballpark of $3,500 a month. $3,500 a month, that's just for one person. That's a whole bunch of mailers, a whole bunch of flyers, a lot of collateral, a whole bunch of social media ads that got sucked up by one person. And then if you have to pay all of your walkers $15 an hour, right?
Yeah.
If they're working 10 hours a day, $150 a day per walker. Multiply that by 10 walkers by 6 days a week. And quickly you see that running as a candidate become cost prohibitive, because to generate that much money so quickly, it's hard to do by yourself. So what I would suggest to progressives is that if you really believe in the cause and you really believe in the candidate, that you're going to have to look at how can you sacrifice and give your candidate that skill, that talent that he or she needs to be able to get to the point of where they can raise money. Because if you have a good website, you have some good mailers going out there, you have people that's willing to knock on doors and pass out your literature, then you can actually generate money for the campaign and maybe for select folks provide some of that funding. But the big thing is volunteering is capital. It's human capital. The talents is capital. And I think that we need to look at that as the way that third-party candidates like myself as a nonpartisan, as well as the candidates who are not party favorites. Because the well of money, the trough of money is only so big. And if the establishment is sucking up all of that money, it makes it very difficult to really get a foothold.
Yeah, and money doesn't really win elections. People do. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, I think we as progressives like to think that, and we'd like it to be true. Um, I don't know if right now it is true yet. And one of the things, for example, of course, Rodney, what you're saying hits the nail on the head, and your experience also living hitting the nail on the head in terms of the work with Mike's campaign. That's one thing that I saw as a volunteer with the Sanders campaign. And I look at my volunteerism when I'm trying to help in some way with the candidates or causes that I believe in. Progressive Voice being one of them, of course. Progressive Coalition being another one. Mm-hmm. I don't look at those things as less valuable to my time as the things that I otherwise get paid for. Now, I don't make commitments I can't keep because, of course, I got to pay my mortgage. Mm-hmm. We got to pay our bills. But by the same token, when we commit to things, and particularly those of us who are highly politically activated, we look at those things as additional jobs. And when the Sanders campaign was going on, I felt like I was working 2 full-time jobs. Now, I was not on payroll with the Sanders campaign. I never claimed to have been. Mm-hmm. But I still worked like 27 hours a day and at really odd hours for the volunteer work that I was doing, because I walked in to the Sanders campaign and said to initially one state director and then another, I said, here is my resume. Here is my CV. I'm not looking for a job because this candidate needs all the money that they've got coming in. And I would be a drain on that based on my level of education and experience. But please take my qualifications and take my experience and take my resume. What can I do that would otherwise cost you all a lot of money to have somebody come in and do? And Rodney is absolutely right. That is a lot of what made the Sanders campaign run, even more than those $27 donations or $32 donations as it came later in the campaign. But the people that were willing to volunteer of their time, when you had someone, even in the entertainment industry, someone like I'll always remember the concert that he did in California, right on the water, and Dave Matthews was headlining that concert, and Fishbone was there too. There were a bunch of great acts, but one of the things Dave Matthews shared is that he was thrilled to be there. He had volunteered his time. He played a set, and the only thing I found out later that he had asked in return was that Bernie call his mom, because his mom was such a big Bernie fan that he got Bernie to call and leave a voicemail for his mom. This is a person that, I mean, it's hundreds of dollars a ticket to go and see this person. That translates, and not just if you're a celebrity, but if you have a skill. You know, in talking with Nina Turner, there's a thing I say about runners. We need different kinds of runners in the political revolution. And we need people to run for cover. Those are your activists and your protesters. People to run for office. Those are candidates who live that ideal. And those to run the office. You know, all those different kinds of runners are necessary. And there's a place for everyone to give of their time and their energy and their expertise. And that volunteerism, as Rodney so aptly pointed out, has a monetary value when you're dealing with that balance sheet on how can you run your campaign. Someone like a canvasser, someone who's willing to volunteer to go canvassing for 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, that translates into how many mailers, how many handbills, how many rack cards is that person now, in essence, donating to the campaign through their willingness to put in the sweat equity. And I think if more progressives, and please, you know, if I'm full of it, tell me, but I think if progressives can truly be woke and truly be active, they're going to understand that put in the power, the muscle behind the hustle is going to make those progressive candidates, even if they're not the anointed of the parties, go farther And I keep saying it, and I said it a few minutes ago, all we need is one that they can't ignore to get through that primary process, where they need that seat bad enough that they're going to get behind the candidate that the people put there.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching Progressive Voice, an independent news and information outlet created by progressives for everyone here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I want to thank again Rodney Smith and Brian James for joining us here in the studio, and we hope to see you next time. If you watch this video or any of our other videos and you want to see content like this, please comment, please share this video down below, please tell your friends. If you have ideas for people or topics you want us to cover, please say so in the comments. Again, we are excited to try to be the change we want to see in the media. There is a dire lack of independent voices, and particularly news and information from a progressive perspective serving everyone. So thank you again, and we hope to see you next time.